Hi everyone, this is me, Elodie Dow. I'm the creator of the VVC Store from Death, a little manga series I've been producing for just over a year now. And recently I got a comment on one of my videos. By recently, I mean I think the comment was made about 5-6 months ago at this point, about how I do my screen toning on my manga. So I thought I'd show you kind of what I do in this video today. So first of all, I'm working in Clip Studio Paint. Specifically, I'm working in version 3.0. So that is the software I'm using. Specifically, I'm on the expert version of Clip Studio Paint instead of Pro, which is the more expensive version of Clip Studio Paint. But a lot of these things you should be able just to do with the pro versions of Clip Studio Paint for your device. So I'm going to go and show you through one of my files today of one of my pages. So let's go for, let's go for this one. So give Clip a second just to load this up. Alright, so welcome to how I construct one of my manga pages that are fully completed. So obviously I like to do the page number as I go along. So as long as it's in this green area, any of your text should be safe in this area. So, I know this is not about screen toning, but try and keep your text within this green inner box when you're lettering your comic, because when it comes out to printing, you know that all of this text will be here no matter what is printed out. So yeah, essentially, if you see on the right down here on the screen, I think if I just enlarge it real quick, you'll be seeing how my folders kind of look like. So what you'll see is I have obviously my number at the top. This is outside the frames for my comic, and then I have my lettering at the top. These two here are highlights for the hair, because I like them to go on top of the screen tones. And then you got my first layer of screen tones, and if I turn off these screen tones, you'll see that all the character screen tones are in this singular folder, and it doesn't account for the background screen tone. Now, the reason why I do it like this is why I separate, the character screen tones from the background screen tones, is because I like this white halo effect behind the character from the background. And the only way you can achieve that really is if you do your character line art separate from your background line art and having that white background in the middle. So if I open up P1, which is standing for panel 1, which is just panel here with the background, you can see here this is the solid right background that I do to split the items. And then back here is the halo effect that I put on top of the background, and obviously your background layer lines are back here. So that's kind of how I format all of my folders. That's kind of the routine I fall into. So yeah, again, all your screen tones for your the front of the background, I keep in the first folder here, and then all of my background screen tones are kept right at the bottom of all of this, which you can find here. And then obviously you can toggle that on and off. Obviously there's not as much background work in this one compared to maybe some of my other pages, like page 1 over here that has a lot of background work in that one. So yeah, so you can see here that I use a range from manga gradients to just standard screen tone fill. So if I turn all of these off for a second, essentially when I'm screen toning, let's say we make a new folder here saying recording screen tones. Essentially how you even get up your screen tones in the first place is essentially you just want to select literally anything. So like if we wanted to do I don't know, Larkin's hair, for example, right? You press on this little icon here saying new tone. I'm not too sure if that's going to show up on the screen. Oh no, it is showing up on the screen. Okay, brilliant. Just have to double check. Yeah, you want to press new tone here, which I'm highlighting now. And then you should get this little pop-up box that you cannot see on screen. Give me 1 second. Let me quickly swap this around. You're going to see my OBS for a second. There we go. Let me adjust because I'm too lazy um, to adjust this. How do I? You know, guys, this is scuff. Okay, this is complete scuff. But you should see here is the box that should come up when you press this button down here, and you'll see your default tone settings. And now what I kind of recommend to do is first find a frequency that you like printed out. So most manga usually are printed out at 60 frequency. That is the standard typical screen dot tone frequency that you tend to see in manga. Sometimes 85. Either or, that's usually typical for manga production. But you can see I have it defaulted at 50, and it's defaulted as 50 in my project settings as well. I just find this looks the best when printed out for my style, and obviously you should have a play around with what sort of frequency you want to do with your art. Again, if you're planning on printing out your manga, find the frequency that will fit your art the most. I will say if you're just planning on uploading digitally online, you'll probably just best work in grayscale throughout. But like, I would definitely make sure that you don't want to print that out at all before making that decision. But yeah, apart from that, once you kind of decided on your frequency, then you got your density. So your density will showcase how heavy the screen tone will be. So the higher the number, the closer the dots are together. So if I whack this up, for example, like you'll see that it gets darker. The higher up it goes, that's because the dots just get closer together. And then obviously, the smaller the number, the further away the dots are. So for Larkin's hair, I know it as 70. I draw this man too often to not know his density numbers at this point. But yeah, so Larkin's hair is 70. Again, if you're just starting out drawing a manga, obviously, I would make sure you have character sheets. With those character sheets, have those density numbers, where your placement will be. I'm quite unusual with my screen tone usage compared to a typical manga because I kind of use all the numbers in the density. By that I mean like I use 10, 20s, 30s, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 and 100 density. Those are what I use. I don't really do like a 35. Typically I did like a 35 in chapter 1, but now I just do just the 10s. But most manga you'll find will only have like 3 different density numbers. So I think the most common ones from what I can remember off the top of my head is 30, 50 and 70. Those are, I think, off the top of my head, are the typical numbers that you'd want to use in normal manga productions. That is kind of what everyone uses as the default. But obviously, now it's the digital age. Obviously, people can use way more screen tones because obviously you're not paying for screen tones anymore. So yeah, a kind of experiment, kind of see what fits with your art styles. Using screen tones. Can be as varied as anything else in your art, and again there isn't really a set way of doing it, especially in the West. If anything, like I think the West is primed to experimenting with manga in general. So yeah, like I said, if you've got a character sheet, make sure you put your density numbers by those characters and kind of stick to it throughout your manga. And yeah, basically you can kind of change here, the different shapes and stuff, but always for screen tones, it's usually circles. Sometimes I do a line, if I'm trying to do like, I don't know, like an old engraving on a piece of paper or drawing on a piece of paper. There's certain circumstances that you can use these different shapes throughout your manga. Again, you can just experiment. You can have a look at these. But yeah, for this, we'll always use the circles for basic screen tone usage. And also, you can find your noise here, which people always ask, oh, where do you find your noise to put on, your illustrations or something like that. You can find it here in your tone settings. And then obviously you just change the blend modes on that. Okay, so, and then the angle here. Now, the angle will confuse people. Do not change the angle number unless you know what you're doing with it. I always keep mine at 45. Yours should be defaulted at 45. Essentially, the reason why you shouldn't probably change that angle number is because when you put two together, if they're not the right sort of like number that you need, it can look a bit messy. And by that, it will cause an effect called moire, and moire will make, when it's printed out, it will look unclear, fuzzy, just not very pleasant, and it's something that you don't want ever to happen or appear in your work. It's really straining on the eyes, it's really distracting. Again, you probably don't want that effect unless you're purposely intending to have that effect for a reason. But again, if you kind of want to see what that looks like, you can find many images online of how moire kind of looks like. So again, you can just have a look online. You can see that, or you can test it out. You can print out like two different angles at once and kind of see how it all kind of happens. But yeah, I'm not going to dive into moire and the effect and causes of moire. But if people are more interested in that, I can do another video on it. But yes, so yeah, essentially, Larkin Sarah is 70 density. My comic settings is default on 50. So let's select this. You should just press OK. And then ta-da! That's your screen tone put down. And from here, you can kind of see on the right down here. Actually, let me switch screens because we probably can't see that anymore. There we go. Oh yeah, so it should create this little layer here with your settings. So essentially this is your screen tone down here. This is your selection mask. Essentially if I delete this mask, there you go. That's the whole screen tone for the entire page. So if you worked with masks before, you probably know how this works, but basically if you want to fill in any sections, make sure you're clicking on the mask, not the tone here. Just the mask. And then you can either use something like just a simple fill-in pen like this. I don't know if I can get this right first time around, but we'll have a go. Yeah, so you can do something like that. You can fill in using like a lasso tool like that you can get off the Clip Studio store. Or what I tend to like to do is use just the bucket tool just to kind of fill it in like that. Obviously I've got other layers on at the moment, that means I can't fill in that white section, but you get the gist. Like you can use your bucket tool to fill in all your screen tones quite quickly, or you could just do a massive selection before even doing that, kind of whatever floats your boats, and then you can kind of continue on from there filling in. Okay, so that's how you put a basic screen tone down. And then usually what I like to do in terms of my screen toning methods, I also like to shade with screen tones. That is not typical usually in manga to do that, but I like shading with screen tones. So we can put a shadow down there, right? You can follow that sort of thing, right? And then you can make it very clear. Yeah. Okay, I think we probably got a basic understanding on just how to put down a simple screen tone, and kind of I also use it for shading. Let's delete all of these. Okay, and then another way you can also screen tone is just using manga gradients. So manga gradients are my savior. I love manga gradients. I use them for Flaviu's hair. So I will use Flaviu's hair as an example. So let's go up to this panel up here. Essentially, you just want to select, his hair. So I'm just going to select some of it. It's probably not going to be all of it. And then you can see we've got, if you go on your gradients tab, you'll see a ton of default um, gradients that comes with Clip Studio Paint. And what you're specifically looking for is the manga gradient selection. So all you want to do is just drag and up. So the way you start is the darkest point, or I believe, yeah, the darkest point is where you first click. Then where you drag it to is the lightest point. So if we just drag it up to here, obviously it's like, if people know what Flavio looks like in the Fuses Stuff from Death, this isn't his hair color. So you might be asking, how do I move the gradient? Essentially, you want to go on the select object tool up here, and then you'll see like, oh, this is the line I drew for my gradient. And all you can do is just press this little arrow down here. You could just drag it up. See, that's more like Flavio's hair now, and then you can just drag this down if you want a slightly shorter gradient. And bada bing, bada boom. There you go. That is more what Flavio's hair should kind of look like. Um, so yeah, you can also do screen tones that way. This is quite nice if you're having like pure black trousers, for example, and you just want a bit of gradient in them with some heavy black shading, on it too. Screen tones are great for making clothes look great as well. So that's another thing you can do. And again, with Manga gradients, there's a lot of different options that you can choose from. So you can do like a radial one. So that's also an option as well. And then you got your different patterns as well, which I don't really bother with because I don't think many of them look great for screen tone usage. But again, you can play around with these things, see what sort of cool effects you can do, and bits and bobs like that. Okay, and then the final thing I'm also going to show you in terms of how you can screen tone is just using a gray tone setting. So usually, if you're creating a comic project in Clip Studio Paint EX, usually all the comic settings for manga will have the expression color defaulted at monochrome, which is perfect for printing. But for what I'm going to show you now, we need to make this layer here into grey. So we're just going to select grey. So now we should have the full grey color spectrum. So for example, if I grab out my pencil brush here, and we just, I don't know, go like that. So we got a cool little pattern. I don't know, we can go right. Okay, so for example, if I wanted to make this screen tone here, because at the moment this is completely in grey, all you need to do is press this tone button up here, bada bing, bada bing. Now that is screen tone, and you can see that because of my project settings already been set to a frequency of 50, it's already defaulted to a frequency of 50 for that tone. And now that is a fully toned layer, and again, you can keep drawing like this. Move your pencils. Again, this won't work if you're on a monochrome, because if I was on a monochrome layer, if I do this and that, obviously it's just gonna be black, which we don't want. We want grey like that, because obviously that looks very different. So that was also another way of doing it. So those are kind of the 3 ways that you can screen tone on Clip Studio Paint. I know this is probably way long-winded and a lengthy explanation, I'm sure I could have done a script for this video and it would be like way, way shorter. But I just wanted to make something quick that I could upload, that might be quite useful for people to see. And hopefully also showing my file layout for a page is useful as well for those who want to get into manga creation as well. So yeah, if you've got any questions, if you have any other video suggestions, give me a comment below, and I'll see what I can do by either just responding to a comment or maybe making an entire video out of it. So yeah, if you want to check out the Thieves of Stealth and Death, I now have a physical edition out now that you can buy on Etsy. I ship worldwide from the UK if you're interested. You can also read the entire first volume at the moment online on platforms such as Manga Plus creators, Webtoons, and Global Comics. If you want it in the best quality, Global Comics is what I recommend, but obviously use the platforms that you want to read on. And yeah, go and check it out if you're interested. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.